Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are now on to Master of Reality, continuing the Black Sabbath series. Last time we listened to Paranoid. That album was fucking incredible. Metal masterpiece, a classic metal masterpiece. Easily the better of the first two Black Sabbath albums in my opinion, even though their debut was absolutely incredible. And we're continuing forth into Master of Reality, another one of their most celebrated albums. 86 user score on Album of the Year, puts it in like the top 400 all time, one of the highest rated metal albums of all time. People like this album just as much as the first two, basically. Yeah, this album came out in 1971. It is 8 tracks, 34 minutes. I think that makes it the shortest of the Sabbath albums so far, only being 34 minutes. The first two were over 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Paranoid was 41 minutes, and the first album was 38 minutes. Okay. So it's around the same, but still the shortest of the bunch by a little bit. Yeah, I'm going into this one with like hopes through the roof. I know that, you know, this album is just as celebrated as the first two. Some people say it's a little better than the first two. I don't know about that. Hold on, just get my notepad up here. Some people say it's like better than the first two. We'll see about that. That's a high bar to reach. But still, I'm going into this thing with expectations sky high. I have absolute faith that this album's going to be great. I've heard 2 songs off of this. I've heard Children of the Grave and I've heard Into the Void. And besides that, we're going in blind. Let's get straight into this. I feel like there's no need for any more yap. There's nothing else I need to say. Let's just go. Track 1, Sweet Leaf. On shuffle, actually noticed it beforehand this time. Yeah, immediately the bass is standing out here a lot more than it did on the first two. The bass got a lot of moments to shine in Paranoid, to be fair. But here it feels like the bass has a much larger presence in the mix. Okay, so we got a very sloppy song to begin it here. And I say sloppy in a good way. It's got the most, like, loose, free-feeling drum beat ever. Very funky as well, got a lot of bounce. This song it has a heavy emphasis on being as sleazy and as sloppy as possible, which is a nice change from how fast-paced and kind of manic a lot of Paranoid was. This is a nice change of pace for this. Oh, shit. Fucking hell. Okay. Sure, just throwing a big solo moment for everyone there. That completely caught me off guard. The guitars have so much of an overbearing feeling over this song as well. Their production has had such an upward trajectory across the first 3 albums. They feel even heavier here than they did on the last 2. A hell of an opener. A hell of an opener. Yeah, this is about as bold of a switch up as I would expect for an opener from a Sabbath album. A much sloppier song, a song that's more focused on being sleazy, a song that's not quite as much of a insane punch in the face as War Pigs was on Paranoid. It's a lot more subtle. It has its more bombastic moments, of course, the big solo that everyone gets towards the middle of the song. But then, outside of that, this song is very reliant on its subtleties, even in its heavier production, even in the massive step up the guitars get in terms of their tone and how thick they are in the mix. I think that this track, instrumentally, outside of that solo, is really, really reveling in the subtleties, and that really works, in my opinion. It's got a nice little funk to it. I think that the sloppiness of this track kind of gives it an almost stoner quality. It's a fun direction for the band to take. It's not quite as, like, immediately mesmerizing as War Pigs was. I feel like, of the 3 openers we've had to the Sabbath albums, this definitely isn't, like, my number 1. But the song's pretty damn great. I'm feeling a high 8 on this. It's a great opener. Alright, I'm next to go After Forever. I gotta say, wait, really? Have I heard that song before? And I gave it a 6. Well, I was wrong, okay? Yeah, the bass is really standing out in the... Whoa!
Have you ever thought about your soul? Can it be saved? Is God just a thought within your head, or is it part of you?
Surprising, like, brighter quality to this song. A lot of optimism seeped into these riffs. A lot more color on this track than I was expecting. Oh, that bass tone, fucking hell. I love some growly bass. Sounds fucking amazing. Yeah, there's... People aren't gonna like me for saying this. There's a lot of... It kind of feels like there's a little bit of pop in these guitars. Something about it kind of has that 60s pop flair. In that section where it goes into the cleaner riffs, I mean. The grit and the darkness kind of gives way for a lot more of a natural, colorful feeling. Kind of gives me some 60s a little bit. The soloing across both these first two songs have been fucking amazing. These switches are so seamless as well. 1971, I would assume most of this is like recorded live. The transitions between each section are spotless, man. Man, they're locked in, the chemistry is great. Absolutely, yeah. And the pacing as well. This is so up-tempo. You know, were you to ask me which, like, style of Sabbath do I prefer, if I prefer the slower, more crawling pace stuff, or if I prefer the more fast-paced stuff where it has a lot of drive, I personally am more of a fan of the faster-paced stuff. I feel like Sabbath, when they make a metal track that is just pedal to the metal, chugging itself along like this song does, that is where they really find their strong suit as a band, in my opinion. The slow stuff still sounds fantastic, particularly on the first album. But when you get a song like After Forever that is just pummeling all the way through, it is constantly moving at such a fast pace, very up-tempo, doesn't slow down for a second. Even in its switch-ups, it's still keeping that very upbeat, that very like constant kind of motion that I feel like makes this song, especially for a 5.5 minute track, such an insane metal experience. Like this is the Sabbath that I personally prefer, like slightly a little bit over the slower I don't know, fucking hell, my stuttering is just going crazy today. Over the slower moments, definitely. And even when they're injecting like a little bit of a cleaner tone here, letting the darkness and the grit give way to some more natural color, I think that even that is like a nice switch in their sound. It's nice to see them injecting a little bit of pop into their music. Even, like, you know, obviously making something that's a little more accessible. It doesn't feel like they lose any of their magic. It doesn't feel like they lose any of the charm. It doesn't feel like this is, like, watering itself down for broader appeal. It feels like them trying something out and trying to make something that is a little more pop, something that is a little more accessible, something that isn't quite as moody and brooding as the previous two, even with some of the, you know, some of the darker lyrics here talking about when you're about to die, keeping your cool, you know, lots of talking about, you know, religious themes and his relationship with death. It still was able to come across a lot brighter than the previous two albums, and that's not what I was expecting from this project at all. I'm feeling a solid 9 on this one. I've also noticed that the soloing, but on the first two songs at least, has been the best it's been on any of the albums. The solo moment on the first track and this track have both been fucking incredible. Oh, next you have Embryo. Fucking SpongeBob. Sounds like the fucking guitar riff from SpongeBob, you know, when some goofy shit's happening. The beginning of the riff sounds exact. I legit thought it was going to go into that, and I was going to be like, there's no way that came from this. Alright, we're just going to let this shit play out. We're just going to go into the next track. Children of the Grave. That song doesn't get a rating. It's a fun little guitar piece. Sounds like SpongeBob. We're not going to rate that. Oh my god, I remember this song being good, but fucking hell, it just punches you right in the face, man. The percussion is fucking incredible as well. You get these very tinny toms throughout this. Those upbeats are so fun as well. Ping-pongy drums, there you go. I'm liking how metallic this song feels. Again, very tinny percussion. I'm assuming it's being played with metal strings. You can kind of feel how metallic the bass is as well. I'm getting, no, it obviously doesn't sound like an industrial song, but it sounds, I'm getting lots of industrial imagery over this. Feels like being in a factory or something. What about the switch up? The writing is so good, dude. Seems, yeah, I'm getting kind of like a protest anthem with this song. Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy to think that, like, we are only a year into the band's existence at this point, and we're already, like, at this level of essentially perfection of the craft. Yeah, Children of the Grave feels like this album, you know, it's shown us all of its assets, and now it's assets. Jesus Christ, I didn't pronounce the T. Sounds like I said asses. This album has shown us all of its assets, and now it's showing us that they have perfected that style. Children of the Grave is like the easiest 10 I could possibly give. Oh, it's already in my 10s playlist. I gave it a 10 when I first heard it. I was already in the knowledge that this is like a strong contender for the best Sabbath song we've had so far. This song's a fucking masterpiece. It has all of the drive, all of the power, all of the thunderous energy that I love out of my favorite Sabbath songs. It's with the more up-tempo stuff, with the faster pace. But it also is showing just how much they've refined their craft, and it's showing just how much they've perfected it. The guitar tones are such a step up from the last two albums. Ozzy's writing, such a step up from the last two albums. This kind of call to action to the children being born in the today that was 1971, to make the changes so that the next generations can, you know, have a brighter future. It's put across in a way that literally feels like this massive march, this massive protest. It has that level of power. You know, you can feel how it would go on to influence further, like, political-based metal bands, like a Rage Against the Machine, to have that kind of protest feeling. It literally feels exactly like that, like just a big march down the street, or breaking into a big sprint down the street with like thousands of people or something. There's so much powerful imagery seeped in this track. I feel like it is just, again, a step up. Everything on this album so far has felt like even a step up. I'm so impressed by this. I'm surprised this isn't the album that people are pointing to as like the band's best. You know, lots of people point to Paranoid at the band's best, and I have to say, so far, I'd say I'm maybe liking this a little bit more than Paranoid. I feel like this album has a lot more drive than Paranoid. I think this album has some better guitar tones than Paranoid. I think that Ozzy's writing is a little better than Paranoid here. So it was like a big step up to me. So I didn't actually know this beforehand, but it turns out Geezer Butler, or Geezer Butler, I don't actually know how you say his name, writes these songs, not Ozzy Osbourne. That was quite the shocking thing to learn. Yeah, I thought I'd just come in here and submit that correction to what I was saying here. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath is their best song. True. Anyway, up next we have Orchid. An acoustic song, it seems like. Oh man, that bass. Or is that just the low string on the guitar? I think that's just the low string on the guitar. This mix is just super low end heavy. Really getting so much resonance and sustain out of the bassy notes here. Easily the best of the two guitar interludes we've had. Ooh, great transition into Lord of this World. Yeah, easily the best of the two guitar interludes we've had. I'm actually going to score this one. I didn't score the previous one. We're going to score this one. I'd give this... I think I'd give this like a high 8. That was just some absolutely beautiful acoustic guitar playing with lots of emphasis in the mix on the bassier notes of the guitar. Gives you kind of like this kind of washing over, like, yeah, that kind of like washing over the song feeling from the bassy notes that I thought sounded fucking fantastic. I love that low end heavy mix on there. It sounded fucking fantastic. And next we have Lord of this World.
You're searching for your mind, don't know where to start. Your soul is ill, but you will not find a cure. Yeah,
I get you, yeah, 34 minutes is a very surprising length for this album. Kind of bringing back that kind of doom quality that the guitars had on the last album. What is that, cowbell? It's a really fucking high-pitched cowbell if it is. I mean, I've always seen a lot of overlap with Sabbath and Zeppelin, but you can definitely see it a decent bit on this song. Particularly in Bill Ward's drumming, it feels like it kind of has that bump, that bounce of John Bonham a lot on this track. Yeah, these flam fills with the double stops on the kick, yeah, it's very, very Bonham. And the band, again, I'm assuming this is recorded live, considering it's 71. That transition into the next section, that tempo shift, so seamless. The band are able to just lock that in so well.
but will you turn to me when it's your turn to die?
Yeah. That is a cowbell. That's a really high-pitched cowbell. Super pingy sound out of it. Getting much more of the attack than the resonance. Bassline's fucking insane. That is kind of wild. Yeah, you do bring up a good point. The bassline is outshining Tony Iommi's guitar solo. Probably just because of how good the tone is. And you get a very metallic, kind of mid-heavy bass tone here. All of this world is absolutely fucking amazing. I completely agree that the bass, for a rare time, you know, outshining oh my fucking god. My stuttering is just at the top of its game today. Outshining Tony Iommi's, is it Iommi or Iommi? I don't know. Outshining Tony Iommi's guitar it's not an easy feat to accomplish, and Geezer Butler is able to do that here, and I feel like not even just do that here, but like outshine him to such an insane degree with how incredibly funky that bass line is, how gorgeous that mid-heavy tone is. He is able to absolutely own the space on this track, even over fucking Ozzy Osbourne's vocals. And on top of that, you do get a great solo from Tony Iommi as well. You do get some nice Bonham sounding drum parts, particularly when the cowbell comes in. It's got lots of like the double stops on the kick and the flam fills that you would expect from, you know, early Bonham recordings for Led Zeppelin. This song is a great example of just how funky the band can be. This is easily the funkiest of the bunch up to this point. That song went hard as fuck. Feeling like a solid to high 9 on that. It's good shit. This song was fucking incredible. Solitude. Time for the Planet Caravan of this album. So we're sitting in like a 9/8. Interesting to choose a 9/8 for this song, because it even gives kind of the waltzy feeling even more of an unease. Is this Ozzy doing vocals? This sounds so different. It is Ozzy doing vocals, according to the credits here. There's some fucking woodwind in there, why not? Give the song kind of like a bit of an Eastern flair. Yeah, the subtle piano. It sounds like the piano's reversed as well. It's beautiful. It sounds like we shifted from 6/8 to 9/8 there. It sounded like there were a couple bars of 6 and now we've gone back into 9. Absolutely, yeah, this album has such a crazy range of tones. The second track kind of felt like it had some 60s pop influence in some of the brighter guitar tones. And then it can go into a trippy 9/8 psychedelic ballad. It can have some of the most thunderous, fiery metal tracks the band have put out easily. Again, such a great display of how varied of a band Sabbath are and how much instrumental and technical prowess they have under their sleeve and their ability to explore so many styles with just as much proficiency as the others. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Even Ozzy Osbourne is doing something so different with his voice here. A lot less of a pronounced vocal performance, a far simpler and more subtle inflection on his voice. Yeah, it sees Ozzy leaning into just how much power he can find in the subtleties from his voice as well. I absolutely loved that song. That's like my second favorite on the album and the second 10 for me. It feels kind of like, you know, we talked about this just on stream yesterday. It feels like Disposition on Lateralis, you know, where it's such a different track. It's much more psychedelic focused. It's much more focused on being a spacey kind of soundscape for you to sit in and take in much different influences on the album. It feels like to this album what Disposition is to Lateralis to me, you know? And that Disposition is one of my favorite songs on Lateralis, and this is one of my favorite songs on this album. Yeah, you're getting a lot more jazz, a lot more folk on this track, some Eastern influence in the woodwind, and these sleigh bells as well kind of give it that kind of nightmarish quality, kind of feeling like you're going down a little bit of a mental spiral. That was lovely. And I think this is one of Ozzy's best performances on the album. It's nice to get something so different, something so bass-heavy from his voice that is a lot less pronounced in its accent and its inflection as well. A very different song, but one that I feel like is absolutely necessary for the flow and tone of this album. It's a great display of just how varied and versatile they are. Easily one of the best, in my opinion. Final song, Into the Void. I've already heard this track, but I don't really remember it. I remember this riff, actually. Was that two drum takes recorded on top of each other? Because it sounded it was like the ride cymbal and the crash being hit at the same time. I think that may have been two drum takes laid on top of each other.
Rocket engines burning through so fast, up into the night sky they last. Would it be the end of man and time? Back under the flame of light burns low.
I like the rattly feeling that those overdubbed hi-hats give this instrumental section.
The empires of eternal void, freedom from the final suicide.
Yeah, you can really feel the doom elements being brought in the heaviest on this song easily. Oh shit! Oh, double kick? Is this the first time we've got double kick on a Sabbath song? Or are those toms? I think those might be overdubbed toms, maybe. I can't tell. Again, chemistry insane. The way every member of the band is able to switch through these sections so well. The performances are so fucking tight. It does sound like overdubbed toms. Yeah, I thought it was double kick. Yeah, I think it was overdubbed toms. It sounded like there were different pitches going on with them. Yeah, it's gonna be close between those two as my favorite so far. I'm honestly thinking Master Reality might be my favorite. Absolutely, yeah. Kind of has that controlled improvisation feeling that a lot of like the best jazz music would have. It feels like the band are being like they just kind of set a tight structure for themselves and just let themselves go wild on top of it. My favorite Christian album? Maybe. Yeah, it feels like a jazz band at heart. Lots of blues influences, lots of like swing in a lot of their instrumentals. Into the Void. Hell of a closer. I've heard this song before. Obviously, I remembered that riff. That's a fucking iconic riff at the beginning of the song, but I didn't remember the majority of this. That switch up into the super blazing fast, like fucking almost bordering on like speed metal section was insane. It's so fast that I thought they were using double kicks, but it sounds like they had to overdub toms instead. Because I don't know if Bill Ward... I don't know if double kicks were like even a thing, really. I know they were used a little bit in jazz music before this, but I don't know if double kicks were like a thing outside of jazz at this point yet. That switch up was fucking insane. That literally blew my mind. completely just swept the rug out from under my feet. I've heard the song before and I didn't fucking remember it. Like, even hearing it again, it's just as breathtaking, it's just as shocking when it happens. Yeah, this entire track, one of the most iconic riffs we've gotten on a Sabbath song. Some of Ozzy's best, most descriptive lyrics, absolutely. This image of, like, rockets going up into the sky, leaving people behind on the earth to kind of live in the fucked up hellscape that they've left behind as Satan is, like, rising from the ground or something. Absolutely stunning, horrific imagery that Ozzy injects into this track, obviously bringing back the grandeur in his voice after the last track had a more subtle performance as well. And on top of that, you get some of the best chemistry the band has had on any of their songs on this track. I think that the switches between each different section of this track, the way they're able to cut out and punch back in, the way they play off of each other so well. This song is maybe the best display out of any Sabbath song at just how well the band work together, how well they're able to play off of each other, how well they're able to improvise but still leave space for one another. It's insane. It's tough between this and Children of the Grave as my favorite on the album. This is another 10 for me. It's really close between this and Children of the Grave. Yeah, Ginger Baker was big on Double Kick in the 60s, yeah. Lots of jazz musicians, and Ginger Baker, Cream, obviously, it was like very... I think Cream had like a lot of blues influence, right? So like blues and jazz drums would have been influencing it a decent bit. This song is like a strong contender for not only best on the album, but like best Sabbath song. It's between this and Children of the Grave. They're like neck and neck for me. Both absolutely insane statements, and this album just feels like such a massive leap forward for the band here. It feels like we like, you know, Paranoid was a nice step forward from the first album. This feels like such a massive like jump way ahead. The production is such a crazy step up. The performances are such a crazy step up. The technical ability, the chemistry, Ozzy's writing, his vocal style, everything here just feels like it's been mastered. This is a strong contender for the best Sabbath album. I'm trying to think if I prefer this or Paranoid, because Paranoid's fucking incredible as well. We'll see. I'm going to crunch the numbers, and I'm going to tell you what my overall score for this album is. Ladies and gentlemen, I've crunched the numbers, and this album lands itself in first place so far with a 9.6 out of 10, 1 point above Paranoid for me. This album's a fucking masterpiece. I'm kind of surprised that this album isn't the fan favorite. I mean, Paranoid has all the hits, I suppose. Paranoid, you know, has Paranoid, War Pigs, Iron Man. But I feel like this album seems like it would be the more beloved one, simply due to how big of a leap forward it is and how fucking insane it is that this came out in 1971. What a fucking crazy album to put out in the year it came out. Yeah, this album takes everything the band were doing before and just refines it even further. It takes it so many steps forward. It feels like the variety on this album is even heightened a bunch. You get a lot more jazz influence, a lot more folk influence, some Eastern stuff going on Solitude. Ozzy's vocals have way more range on this as well. It feels like the writing's even more descript. I think that this album is handily their best so far. If it gets better from here, if like Sabbath Volume 4 is even better than this, we might be looking at the craziest album run in their early discography here. I'm going to be going up to Sabotage in terms of doing videos on them. So we're gonna see how it goes from here. But if it gets any better than this, then I will be shocked. That was fucking insane. It's phenomenal how unique those were to each other. Oh yeah, the sound just fucking blew me away. This feels like such a crazy thing to put out in 1971, and with it being like one of the earliest metal albums as well, it's still able to like hold its ground among new metal albums. It's able to hold its own. It's able to stand the test of time and feel like still such an innovative and powerful piece to listen to, you know? One of the earliest examples of metal still coming out in 1971, and it still sounds just as breathtaking, just as fresh today as I imagine it would have 54 years ago. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of this album down below and how it compares to other Sabbath albums for you. You can check out my reactions to Paranoid and their self-titled somewhere in a playlist around here. Check those out if you haven't. Like and sub if you haven't. We are on our way to 4K, and I'll see you all whenever I next stream or upload. Bye bye.